Breaking news, breaking news. We got Eagles breaking news happening right now. Of course, right before I'm about to put up a video, so I'm going to put this in the front. But this is big, big time news, and it's not unexpected. Fletcher Cox, the Eagles great, has officially announced his retirement from the NFL. He posted on his Twitter, "Thank you, Philly." And then he he wrote up a whole beautiful letter to the fans and stuff like that. I'll leave a link so you guys can check it out yourselves because it's a wonderful thing. He says a lot of great things, but it's really long, and I'm sure you don't want to hear me read it to you. Jeff McClain wrote this: Fletcher Cox announced his retirement from football. The Pound Eagles defensive tackle who went to 6 Pro Bowls, was voted first team All-Pro once, and won a Super Bowl, will go down as one of the best in franchise history. And Cox will warrant serious considerations for the Pro Football Hall of Fame. No question about it. And I said at the beginning of the video you're about to see, I talk about what a crazy offseason this is. And it is. This offseason has been nuts. Do you know how rare it is that you get guys that play their whole entire career for one organization in today's NFL, in today's sports in general? It's not often. Well, you've got 2 guys that played their whole entire careers with the Eagles, are going to go to the Hall of Fame, and not only that, they retired in a matter of a week. Both of them at the same time, pretty much. It's really crazy. It's hard for us Eagle fans to handle, if we're being quite honest. That's a lot. Brandon Graham, he's another guy. He's coming back one more year, but he's eventually going to do the same thing. I think it's a testament, and it really is meaningful that Jeffrey Lurie, the Eagles organization, that they keep these guys in house. When you have guys that are Hall of Famers, they shouldn't go somewhere else. Reggie White should have never left. Brian Dawkins should have never left. And it's good to see that Fletcher Cox, Kelsey, and then soon to be Brandon Graham will play their whole careers in Philly. And Fletcher Cox was one of the best defensive tackles the Eagles have ever had. There's no question about it. I still think Jerome Brown was the best defensive tackle I've ever seen. He didn't play long enough, though. But Fletcher Cox is right up there with the greats, and he will be sorely missed. And it's going to be time for Jalen Carter and Jordan Davis to step up. I'm sure we're going to have a lot more to say about Fletcher Cox in the coming days. We'll see if he does a press conference, and there will be a lot to talk about. But congratulations to Fletcher Cox on a wonderful, great career, and good luck to him in the next chapter of his life. Now, with that said, let's get to the rest of this video. Well, you can tell already, this is going to be an absolutely crazy offseason. Dallas still stinks. Yo, by the way, kick Dingbat here, and what a crazy offseason this has been already. And really, it hasn't even started yet because legal tampering doesn't happen till tomorrow. But nonetheless, it has been absolutely crazy what is going on with the Eagles. But we are starting to see kind of what the Eagles are thinking and what they're feeling. I mean, who thought that the Eagles would not only try to trade Haason Reddick, but try to trade Josh Sweat as well? And the fact that they're trying to trade both those guys, to me, I think they're both gone now. I thought it was one thing with Haason Reddick with his deal, but now this Josh Sweat thing changes everything. And we're going to get into it in a second. But before we do that, I want to talk a little bit about Brandon Graham. Because Brandon Graham signed a 1-year deal, and he is going to be returning as an Eagle. Now, I think the deal is a 1-year, $4 million deal. It's not that much money. Obviously, he's going to have a diminished role in terms of snaps and that. They're not going to look at Brandon Graham and say, all right, you got to get us 9-10 sacks a year. I don't think that's what he's going to do for you. However, he's still a rotational piece. He's still very important in that locker room, and he's an important leader on the field. And I think bringing back Brandon Graham, especially when you look like you're getting ready to rebuild your whole defensive line, I think it's important. And to bring him back for $4 million a year, I think that's great. Now, if it was $10 million a year or more than that, yeah, I would have an issue. But Brandon Graham wants to stay in Philly and wants to finish his career. I have no issue with that, okay? Now, the big news, obviously, we've talked a lot about Saquon Barkley over the last few days, and the Eagles are going to have their interest. We'll see how that pans out. But one thing we do know for sure is the Eagles are looking to trade Josh Sweat. Not just Hassan Reddick, mother humpers, but Josh mother humping Sweat. I find it shocking, to be quite honest with you. Tom Palizzo Cesario wrote this. The Pound Eagles are having trade calls on defensive end Josh Sweat, sources tell me at Rap Sheet. Sweat has 35 career sacks and still is only 26 years old. Philly is starting over with a new defensive staff, and Sweat could be on the move. Jeez, man, it's crazy to me. That's crazy. And look, Diana Rossini wrote this. The Eagles have been shopping both Josh Sweat and Hassan Reddick for the last few weeks. Look for the Eagles to aggressively pursue Bryce Huff in free agency. Now, we're going to talk about Bryce Huff in a second. But, I don't know. This is absolutely nuts and bonkers because I don't expect them to get rid of either of those guys. Now it looks like both of them are going to go. Ian Rappaport talked a little bit about it. He said, in summary, the Pound Eagles are having trade calls for defensive end Josh Sweat and edge Hassan Reddick. Also has permission to facilitate a trade. A really interesting situation to watch on the Philly defense and how they rework themselves for 2024. I'm sorry, I can't speak. John McMullen also said this. From multiple sources, the Pound Eagles were not happy with the way the defensive line played down the stretch last season, particularly when it came to the discipline and what was being asked. Now, here's the thing, and this is where I think the key is. They were not happy with that defensive line and that front. And it looks like to me that not only did they blame their defensive coordinator, but a lot of the blame on defense, they're putting on that defensive line. Those guys didn't get home. And rightfully so, because they didn't. They were non-existent. I think we had one of the worst sack rates on third down in the league last year. You can't have that. So now, with Vic Fangio coming in, they're going to look to basically rebuild this whole defensive line. And the key to it has to partly be Nolan Smith. Nolan Smith has to be a big part of their plans. And to me, it's a risk because the question is can Nolan Smith go out there and can Nolan Smith be that guy? Can he be that guy that gets you 10 sacks, 11 sacks? Obviously, the Eagles must feel really good about him, but that doesn't mean he can. He's going to have to go out and prove it. James Palmer wrote this. The Pound Eagles feel good about the trajectory of Nolan Smith's development. Smith had maintenance procedure on his shoulder this offseason and is preparing him for a bigger workload in year 2. He better get a lot stronger, I can tell you that. He better get a lot stronger. But he has to be a big part of the plan. And once, let's say the Eagles go out there and they trade Hassan Reddick and they trade Josh Sweat. Guess what? You know where you're going in the first with your first pick. You know where you're going in free agency. You're going to have to go out and get multiple pass rushers. They're going to have to rebuild this whole line. This is really. It's really a big-time move by the Eagles, but it really tells you how disappointed with that line that they were, and they don't feel like those guys can get home. We heard a lot about over the last few days about Bryce Huff, and at first, I didn't really know what to think about it. Like, is this a true rumor? Is this real, or is this just more smoke up our ass? Like, what is it? Is this real? And it looks like the Eagles are definitely going to be aggressively going after him. Unless this is a total smokescreen, it is what it is. And listen, Bryce Huff is 25 years old. He'll be 26 in April. He's gotten better every year. In 2020, his rookie year, he only had 2 sacks. 2021, he had 2 sacks. 2022, he had 3.5 sacks. And then in 2023, he takes a monster swing upward, and he has 10 sacks. Now, if the Eagles look at Bryce Huff and say, all right, here's a guy that is his best days are still in front of him, the Eagles should go after him hard. Pause. But they should. They should go after him hard, especially if they're going to do what it looks like they're going to do and trade Sweat and trade Haason Reddick. But if Bryce Huff, if he's got that kind of trajectory where he's ascending player, for the price you're probably going to have to pay him, he could be a huge steal. Now, if you could get Bryce Huff and you could get Nolan Smith, and listen, these are a lot of what ifs, or what if this works out, if that works out. But if that works out, you have 2 young guys not going to be making tons of money, because Huff's only going to make so much. He ain't going to make $20 million or anything like that. But if you could get him and Nolan Smith, if they could come in and produce, it's a great deal for the Eagles. It's a ballsy move. And even though I'm not really in favor of getting rid of Reddick, by the Eagles even wanting to trade Sweat as well, it tells me that there was more to it than just Reddick wants more money. The Eagles don't look at those guys as guys that are going to continuously get home over the years. Why pay them big money? They can find it in other ways. Now, from what I hear about Bryce Huff, he is strictly a pass rusher. Doesn't really do anything well, but he rushes the passer well. Well, the Eagles look at Haason Reddick the same way, and Reddick only had, 11.5 sacks. They may be looking at this kid saying, this is the next Haason Reddick. He's a little bigger, by the way. He's 255 pounds. He's 6'3", going to be 26 in April. So it would be a ballsy move. Now, I'm going to say this, and people aren't going to like it. But I'll say this. I would also go after Chase Young. Go get Huff. You got Graham coming in. If you're going to bring in Bryce Huff, bring in Nolan Smith, and bring in Chase Young. And let that be your rotation. Let's see what they could do. That's a young rotation, all with tremendous upside. Like I said, I believe the fact that they want to trade Josh Sweat too means that I think it makes it more likely that Haason Reddick and Josh Sweat both get traded, because now you know that they weren't happy with those guys and the way they played. That's a completely different thing than saying we don't want to pay this guy. They're saying we were not happy with them and the way that they played last year, and we're not sure what we're going to get going forward. And I hope that they really know something about Nolan Smith, and they know that he's the guy. I hope it's not just we hope he's the guy, but I hope that they actually know. So it's a fascinating turn of events for the Eagles. And everybody's been sending me this DM. I'm going to share it with you guys. This was talking about the pass rush win rate for Bryce Huff. 2022 pass rush win rate, he had first. Pass rush productivity, second. And that was 2022. He only had 3.5 sacks. 2023 pass rush win rate, third. Pass rush productivity, second. 25 years old. He'll be 26 in April. I don't know what the hell that means, to be honest with you, because the guy only had 3.5 sacks. A win rate is just beating the lineman, I guess, just beating your man, not necessarily finishing. But what I see right now is I see utter craziness coming during training camp, during free agency. It's going to be utter chaos. It really is. The Eagles are going to wind up training these guys, and like I said, I think that the Haason Reddick possibility and probability of him getting traded shot up, way up with Josh Sweat getting traded also, or being on the trade block also. They're looking to move these guys for a reason. Okay? So it's going to be really interesting. We will see what happens. Legal tampering starts Monday. I am going to try to be live to come hang out when that starts. I got a few days off work, or a few afternoons off work next week to come hang out with you guys, and we'll see what happens. But it's going to be very interesting. I still think Saquon Barkley is in play too. So, man, this team could look dramatically different, but be a very young, exciting team. And I want to see where this goes and what happens. With that said, take care. Talk to you later. Of course, don't be a dingbat. Remember, it's how we vision. We're all just living in it. I'll tell you what, man. If Saquon Barkley comes to the Eagles, the league is going to lose it. People are losing it. Tiki Barber, he's losing it. Mark Holmes, he's losing it. He's doing videos trying to make excuses on why Saquon Barkley ain't that good. These people are going to be scared of the Eagles. If Saquon Barkley comes to the Eagles, I'm just going to tell you this right now. Eagles going back to the Super Bowl. I think they're going back to the Super Bowl. Denzel Washington out.